Brian joining us.
Just myself at this stage. Brian's off to New Zealand,
Oh, well, that's
so
all very,
he's
that's all
just
just.
headed out the door.
Oh, that's all right. How are you? How's your afternoon going? You're up in Brisbane, aren't you?
Yes, we are. We are. How about you?
We're not up in Brisbane, but the afternoon's going very well. I've just been out for rather pleasant coffee, in actual fact, and it's quite a nice day down here.
Good, good. Okay, cool. Well, look, XRef.
Chris has told me that we do have a client in common. And if
Okay.
wavelength is the name, then that's obviously who they are. So, do you know what do you know about us and how our process works and so forth?
Reference checks is effectively it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much the thing. I'll just give you a brief outline of how the process works. Where we place the candidate at the beginning of the process, and what happens is that an employer has an account with us, and they have nominally they have a dashboard that which we call our employer app, and they'll progress through a hiring process with a candidate, and what they will do is they'll eventually reach the stage where they need to take some references. And we make this really, really easy and straightforward. The employer essentially adds the candidate's details to the platform. They click to the button to request an XRef, and then a whole flurry of automated things start to occur. The first thing is that the candidate will receive an email, and they are invited to log into what we term our candidate app, and they will supply details of past work, sort of work experience, work history, or work episodes and dates, and they will also to identify a referee that will vouch for those periods. They go through
So they're
the
basically
usual.
filling out an online form at this point.
Yeah, they are. They're filling out an
Okay.
online form, and then what happens then is that they identify their work episodes, they identify the referee that is associated with each work episode, and then they click submit. The process then triggers off emails that are then sent to the referee, and the referees will then log in. They'll be invited to log into what we term, you know, originally our referee app, and they will then fill in or answer questions that have been predetermined by the employer, and then they will go through. They'll confirm the the work episode of the candidate. They'll confirm the title that the candidate was using or claiming at that point. Well, one thing we find is that some people may have a habit of, over embellishing their work experience. XRF is a great way to cut through that because it makes the referee identify and affirm that was the role. So if someone was saying I was a senior marketing executive and they were only a marketing intern, then the referee can cut through that. So that's a pretty good value add to start with. So then the referee will then go through. They'll complete the questions. The questions are predetermined in what we call a questionnaire that is loaded into our back end. And questionnaires are associated with different employers. So it's completely configurable, completely tailorable. The employer can have different questionnaires for different roles. They can have, normally most employers tend to have a small number of questionnaires. We did have a government department that had over 700 different questionnaires. So you can imagine that was quite good fun. That was quite fun to administer. So the referee goes through, answers those questions. They will then submit their responses. These come back to our platform, and they're sort of bundled up and packaged up. It will then demonstrate. I tell you what, why don't I share my screen and I can show you one that has actually happened. So,
Nathan, I was having
if
trouble
you
hearing a lot of
see
what you said
here,
before.
you
Are
can
you able to
see
hear me?
this is yes, I can hear you. Platform, our XRef
Okay.
request page. We've got a reference that's in process for a candidate called Kimi Räikkönen, obviously, and this is the life cycle that I mentioned earlier. You can see that that the employer, Tim Griffiths, kicked off the process on Thursday, 28th of June, and then 38 seconds later, the rather eager Kimi Räikkönen agreed, went through the process, and that looks like as far as it's got with him. So that wasn't a great example. Let's go back and find one that has been completed.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so you can see here we've got the dashboard, which I'm pointing at. You obviously can't see me pointing, but this is the
No, that's right.
this is the dashboard here, and you can see that I've up here I've just dropped it down to the last 365 days, so that I've got some actual data to work with rather than the two unfinished ones from last week. So we can see that I'm gonna click on this one that was requested a month ago by Tim, and this is Joanna Ravindra. So you can see that 4 references were requested. And you can, if we have a look here at the life cycle, you can see that now we'll have to go, we'll travel back in time, 28. So the XRef was created on the Thursday, 31st of May. And then you can see that the candidate agreed and verified, and then they logged in, they did their bit. Now it's all going to the same person because that's the name of our tester who's been testing it. So he's been sending it to his own email address. So you can see that all of the events that we capture are the major events that occur in the XRef life cycle. And then Joanna Ravindra here, he accessed, he agreed, he verified that those were the details that the candidate had entered, and then he answered and provided a reference request. So that'll be the first one. So we'll have a look up here at the first one. You can see that this here represents the first reference that was received. So Joanna, yeah, it's not amazingly helpful that he's used the same name for all. So you can see that this represents 7 months and 4 weeks of the of working episode that the referee, the candidate had to supply. And you can see up here we've got a criteria, and that all they were after was 2 references minimum. So we can also create, well, when we talk about criteria, that's the basis on which the references are requested. And those are also configurable by the client. They can create criteria that are just a pure number of references. We say we want 2 references, or we can say we want 2 references that cover the last 5 years, or we want 2 references that cover the last 5 years and no gaps of more than 2 weeks between each reference, or we can go for a purely time-based one, which we don't tend to do in Australia, but it's really popular in the UK. And that is where we will say you need to supply us with a reference from everywhere you've worked in the last 5 years, or similar like that. So the criteria bundle up the number of references and the time. They also bundle in the questionnaire, the questions that the referee is going to be asked, and they also bundle in what we call notes to candidate and notes to referee. So when the user creates a new request, which I will quickly do here, let's create one here. You can see here's my criteria. I'll just use the standard one, and you can see that I've got notes to candidate here. These are what goes to the candidate when he. And then we've got notes to referee.
You're breaking up again, Nathan, I'm afraid. Hello? Oh, looks like you're back.
Oh, he's not off to New Zealand after all.
Sorry?
And there we go. Did I drop out there?
You did for a fair bit. So,
sorry.
Yeah, after notes to candidate, you dropped out. So.
Okay, so sorry. These are the notes to candidate. These are what the candidate will see in the email that they
email, yeah.
And these are the notes to referee. These are what the
and you've templated those into different criteria.
We can
Okay.
template them into criteria so that they can flow through automatically, but the user can also edit them on the fly as well. So
Okay.
if I was making this request here, then I can make changes. I can make depending on how my experience with the candidate has been. I could tell the referee, please pay particular attention to this candidate's attention to detail or something like that. So let me just add a plus test 27 here, and I'll send request. Okay, so it's queued that request up, and now it's gone. And if I come over here to my email, I should. There we go. Pre-employment reference request from XRef has been received, and and you can see. So here's the notes. Those notes that I mentioned here, they've all flowed through into this email that the candidate is receiving. Okay, how does that look to you so far?
Well, so far it looks quite reasonable. I guess we're going to probably need to establish is whereabouts we can fit this into RDB. So RDB is a solution designed to tie candidates to clients based on experience and so on, and references is a huge part of that, of course. The company that's using RDB will establish and obtain references prior to approaching their client base. So effectively, they would always, most often, be the client.
So you're not a classical ATS in the same way that, say, Bullhorn or Smart Recruiters are.
No, we provide a bullhorn, if you like, to our clients, and they utilize that to place permanent and temporary staff, and for temps, they'll also handle things like timesheets and payrolls and so on. So a semi-employer, semi-placement agency, if you like. So I can see the benefits, because they do need to be able to chase down references to make sure that people are who they say they are before they put them forward to their clients.
Yeah, I'm with you. So the candidate will have applied to the RDB platform, and the user will have the candidate's details within RDB's platform. Is that correct?
In its simplest form, yes. So I can see where you've got your profiles there for particular mail outs. Our clients could use that for their specific clients' requirements. So they could have their own profiles there that they could put together.
Sorry, I've been working under a false assumption, because Chris told me that you were a pure ATS. I didn't realise that you operated a service that could value add to other ATSs as well. But
absolutely, We're not pure and simple.
But I mean, you obviously know your workflow well. Do you see a point where the XRef workflow could sort of snuggle into your workflow as an optional thing because obviously we've got an integration with quite a lot of ATS platforms already, and I'm sort of questioning where, if you're adding a service to customers that have already got an ATS already, if they're using, I don't know, Job Adder, for instance, where would we be doubling up on?
Well, look, we don't just interface with other ATS solutions. We are standalone, and a lot of our clients do use it as a standalone solution.
That's perfect.
With their own web-based portals and so on, which they use to advertise, and I guess it's like any agency. You'll have people coming in off the street. You'll have people coming in after specific roles for specific clients. So the situation is always a bit diverse, but they are always after reference follow-up, and anything they can do to streamline that, make it easier for them, if you like, is going to be of value. So I'm just wondering whether we embed your portal into our solution to make it easier for our client to say, bring up an applicant, and from the point of bringing up the applicant record, trigger the process of sending this information out to the applicant.
Yep.
And then API at the other end that pulls back the information from your solution into our work history and reference section there. You'd still handle that whole life cycle process.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
And we would simply, I guess, absorb the results of it. So we could perhaps have a work history record for each of the clients where references have been requested, and a status of, say, well, as you've got that verified, agreed, accessed, reviewed, we could say, okay, well, we have sent out a request for reference, so the status is pending or something like that. I would think we probably wouldn't need to go through the whole process that you've got there of, they've agreed to provide a reference and we've verified the reference. We'd need probably to have statuses of requested and received or rejected or something like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's fine. And our public API essentially allows you to pick and choose which of the status updates that you want to consume. So we've got all our status updates are delivered by webhook, and you can essentially pick and choose which ones you want. So we're just in the I can't not say the name. We're just in the process of finishing an integration with an ATS, and they've used our public API, and they have chosen to take some but not all of the status updates that we provide. But we do provide absolutely everything that happens all through the process, and it's up to you to pick and choose which ones you do or don't want.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect
really
sense.
It's pretty simple. I think we've got about 11. I think we've got 11 APIs off the top of my head, and those are to request the XRef, need to get the package details. There's authentication, so that we need to auth with your client base, because you need to auth so that we know that they're able to use our service. And then there's the request, and then there's the reporting APIs at the tail end. We provide. Let me just show you the report that we provide.
Okay.
Let's see if this one's been answered. This is what the report looks like here. It will look slightly different to that in an ATS, in a public API one, but it will essentially be everything that you see. Hang on, there we go. Look, balls. God, I hate this Mac. Right, everything that you see here that's essentially the report.
And that's based on the questionnaire that goes out, the competencies down the bottom there.
So I can just drag up the questionnaire here. So XRef standard template. This is our standard one. This is the one that most of our customers start off with, and you can and then they can get a feel for. And so here's the standard questionnaire. Please detail the nature of the relationship. And there are 17 questions on this, which I won't read out all of them, but you can start to get an idea of the questions that we're asking. We also add in these the core competency ones, which are a set of specialized questions, which you saw there. And they can provide a graphical representation because they sort of are tied to each other. Which one was that?
So each of the questions response are able to be sent via the API. Able to be passed via the API. That's good.
We've got a small reporting platform, and you hit the report API, and then it will normally pop you out into another tab, and then we'll render the report in a separate tab for you. Which have I got? I don't think I've...
And the report can be exported, I see. Can it be set to auto export to PDF or something like that, where we can store it as a stored document against candidate records?
Yes, it can. Yeah. So it's not going to let me log in. The report does look ever so slightly different to the one that I've shown you there, but it's not significantly different.
Sure.
And you can either export, or you can just use the browser's print functionality to create a PDF if you should so wish. But a lot of our integration partners are asking if we can generate an export directly to PDF, and I've got a dev working on that now, and we're going to add that into the public API suite.
It's the simplest form of integration that would be, wouldn't it? Where you can dispatch a PDF extract and that becomes an attached document that you could simply open and review their results.
Yeah, exactly right.
Certainly would require a lot less development than the API integration, and then tying that into our data structure.
Yeah.
Though with the work history / reference tables that we've got now, it would be a shame not to utilize them. But perhaps we can sort of multi-phase this, baby steps to start with, and then move in from there. It certainly looks like something that's going to be of use to us.
Okay, well that's excellent. I mean, what I think the next step for us would be to we do. I think first we need to get an NDA signed between us.
Of course.
The next step would be for you to. I would introduce you to my lead architect, and he would take you through our public API structure and layout. He would explain the steps that you would need to implement. I mean, it's pretty quick. It doesn't take long. I mean, with a fair wind, you could probably be looking at being up and running in a month.
Okay. Look, that sounds great. If you can get NDA to us, that'd be great. Yep. What about licensing and so on? How does your financial structure work there as far as to market?
Financial structure is everything. XRef is a credit-based service. Our mutual customers, they will engage with us, and they will buy credits from us. And when they use the XRef service via your platform, a credit will be consumed, and then they will buy new credits. If you're integrating using the public API, my understanding is that there are no mutual commercials. That the NDA is just enough, and then we will be considered partners. Unless you specifically wanted to engage in some sort of revenue sharing scheme or opportunity.
Yeah.
Traditionally, anyone that's taken the work on themselves and integrated via the public API, it's just been NDA. There's the API, and off they go. And we don't charge anything. We don't charge anything for the integration. There'd be no cost. There'd be no cost to you for that build process. There'd be no cost for you to get
the credit situation you're talking about there. Is that a per reference?
It's
or per candidate?
Per candidate. So every candidate that you can request. Technically you can request an unlimited number of references for each candidate, and that will only cost you 1 credit. But most people request two references for each candidate. Some request 3. Very, very, very rare that anybody requests more than 3.
Yes.
So that's pretty much where we are. One thing we do have, and we do offer our partners, is we've got now. I'll click this, and if you see competitors, then I'm awfully sorry, but we've got this integrations page here, which lists all of the integrations that we have with partners, and this is growing and expanding all the time. And then generally, when we get a new partner that has partnered with us, we would build what we call one of these tiles here for the partner. So there would be an RDB tile with your logo here. The request connection. That learn more just takes the user out to what is our little wagtail site, which just briefly describes the integration and the features and how to get in touch to find out how to learn more about it. So that would be something that we would obviously offer you. We'd pop an RDB tile in here with a little snapshot of how your platform works and what your platform does, and that's pretty much it, really, in terms of marketing. I mean, obviously, we could talk about a mutual marketing campaign as well, and your marketing people can talk to our marketing people. That goes beyond my ability to offer any real.
Yeah, that exceeds my brief as well. I'll leave that for Brian to negotiate with you guys. So yeah, if we I guess get the non-disclosure agreement in place and then start looking at the public-facing API, we can see what we can do there.
So what I'll do,
certainly think we can use it. That's for sure.
Excellent. That's absolutely fantastic to hear. And my role is to advocate and push more integration. So that's perfect.
We'll probably undergo a bit of a market analysis with our existing client base, and as well as approach some of our potential clients. As to what value they'd see in it. I can see value myself, but of course, if it comes down to clients, you really have to bow to their requirements, I suppose. Yeah.
And there's no point you sitting down and doing a month's worth of development, where if you're only going to get one client using it and they're only going to run half a dozen XRefs a year, there's
no, fully agree.
Yeah. So what I will do is, if you could let me have are you authorized to execute an NDA on behalf of RDB?
I'll pass it through to Brian if you pass it to me, or alternatively, you can send it straight to Brian. He's been CC'd in on every email.
Okay, so. That's perfect. What I will do is I'll get our Chief Operating Officer to send out our standard NDA, and if you can get that signed, then we can have a more in-depth technical discussion with Imran, our architect. He can walk you through the steps for the public API integration and what bits you need to do, what bits you don't need to do, and then you can make a decision based on how you feel about that.
Thanks, Nathan. Yes, as I say, Brian's off to New Zealand, but he's off working, so we should be able to get back to you shortly with a signed agreement.
That's absolutely fantastic. Okay, Dan, thank you very, very much. I hope that has been beneficial to you, and look forward to working with you over the next few months.
Yeah, it's been very beneficial. Thank you, Nathan. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Excellent. Okay, no problems. Well, you have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will speak to you soon.
Yes, talk soon.
Take care.
Bye.